Alright. Wonky Donkey had a child. Hi, Cat. It was a little girl. Hee-haw! She was so cute and small. She was a dinky donkey. Wonky Donkey had a child. It was a little girl. Hee-haw! She was so cute and small, and she had a beautiful long eyelashes. She was a blinky dinky donkey. Wonky Donkey had a child. It was a little girl. Hee-haw! She was so cute and small. She had beautiful long eyelashes, and she loved to listen to rowdy music. She was a punky blinky dinky donkey. Wonky Donkey had a child. It was a little girl. Hee-haw! She was so cute and small. She had beautiful long eyelashes. She loved to listen to rowdy music. And she painted her hooves bright pink. She was an inky pinky punky blinky dinky donkey. Wonky Donkey had a child. It was a little girl. Hee-haw! She was so cute and small. She had beautiful long eyelashes. She loved to listen to rowdy music. She painted her hooves bright pink. And she had to go pee-pee. She was a winky tinky inky pinky punky blinky dinky donkey. Wonky Donkey had a child. It was a little girl. Hee-haw! She was so cute and small. She had beautiful long eyelashes. She loved to listen to rowdy music. She painted her hooves bright pink. She had to go pee-pee. And she loved to play the piano. She was a plinky plonky winky tinky inky pinky punky blinky dinky donkey. Wonky Donkey had a child. It was a little girl. Hee-haw! She was so cute and small. She had beautiful long eyelashes. She loved to listen to rowdy music. She painted her hooves bright pink. She had to go pee-pee. She loved to play the piano. And she wore wild sunglasses. She was a funky, plinky, plonky, winky, tinky, inky, pinky, punky, blinky, dinky, donkey. Wonky Donkey had a child, and it was a little girl. Hee-haw! She was so cute and small. She had beautiful long eyelashes. She loved to listen to rowdy music. She painted her hose bright pink. She had to go pee-pee. She loved to play the piano. She wore wild sunglasses. And she smelled just as bad as her dad. She was a stinky, funky, plinky, plonky, winky, tinky, inky, pinky, punky, blinky, dinky, donkey. Wonky Donkey had a child. It was a little girl. Hee hee! Ho ho! And so that is the story of the Dinky Donkey. I got like 4 of these books now, so I think I'll probably read one every week until I finish them all. So Wonky Donkey was last week. Next book I'm going to read you is a repeat. We read this, I think, last year. This is a true story about a cat with no eyes. Tria Maria. Tria Maria also has a Facebook page, so if you ever want to check it out. Again, Tria Maria, this is a true story. On a hot summer day in the middle of August, I was born in the little village of Gennady on the island of Rhodes in Greece. I almost was going to say, hee.
You have 4 of those books.
What's that?
I said you have 4 of those books.
Yeah, the Wonky Donkeys, yes.
Those are the ones that we would, from my little brother, we would take and burn. Because he loved them, but we drove us crazy.
Oh. My mother, Poppy, chose an old deserted shed to have her family. It was 100 degrees in the village, but the shed was so cool inside, and it protected my 2 brothers and me from harm. It was dark, and I couldn't see my family, but I could feel my brothers beside me, all nestled up against our mother, who fed us and washed our faces with her tongue. When we were 2 weeks old, Poppy thought it was time for us to go outside the shed and explore the streets and fields of Gennady. But when we all went outside to look around, I couldn't see anything. For me, it was just as dark as it was inside the shed. Something just wasn't right. My brothers wanted to play with me like the little kittens do. But when they reached out to touch me, I could feel their paws, but I couldn't see to pat at them with my own paws. And when I did try to play with them, I would sometimes accidentally stumble into my mother, or worse, bang into a rock. At the end of the day, when it was time for our mother to take us back to the safety of the shed, I had difficulty following everyone home. My mother was a little upset with me for not following the others and had to pick me up by the scruff of my neck to carry me home. At first, Poppy thought that I was having trouble getting my baby eyes open. She and my brothers didn't realize that, for some reason that only God understands, I had been born without eyes. I would never be able to see. When we were just 3 weeks old, Mother took us out into an olive grove to play and to start learning about the world outside the shed. Even though I couldn't see, I could still feel my brothers near me, and we all went exploring and pretend fighting like little kittens do. Yes, these are really, really nice illustrations.
Okay. Stay there. Stay there.
After a while, Poppy called out to us because the wind started blowing and she could see a storm coming and wanted us to get back to the safety of our shed. Suddenly, my brothers ran off back to our mother, but they left so quickly and the wind howled so loudly that I couldn't decide which way they went. I tried to find them using my sense of smell and listening as carefully as I could, but the wind howled and swirled around me, and of course without eyes I could not see the way back to where Poppy and my brothers were all safely snuggled in the shed. Soon it began pouring rain, and then the most frightening sound that I'd ever heard happened. Giant, crackling explosions in the sky, followed by thunderclaps so loud that they shook the ground all around me. I huddled under a thyme bush. I was soaked and hungry and covered in burrs, but most of all, I was very frightened. I hoped my mother would find me, and I waited to hear her call for me. But soon I grew so tired that I just curled up in a tiny ball and fell fast asleep. I was so exhausted that I slept under the thyme bush all night long, and when I woke in the morning, the storm was over, and the warm Greek sun started to shine through the clouds. I found out later that this awful storm had taken place on September 11th, that all of the American tourists in Gennady had made note of this because it was the same date that another terrible event had occurred in America. But now I was starving, hoping that I would soon have breakfast, especially since I had no supper the night before. Soaked and covered in burrs, I crawled out from the thyme bush and started looking for the shed where I thought Poppy and my brothers would be waiting for me. However, I soon had to give up. I was hopelessly lost, and I was growing faint with hunger. I had one last idea. I could still meow. And so I climbed onto the biggest rock I could and called up into the air to my lost family, hoping they would at least hear me and come to take me back home. I used my biggest outdoor voice and called as loud and as long as I could. I was hungry, wet, and so tired that I was about to give up and go back to the safety of the thyme bush. Suddenly I heard voices, but not the voices of Poppy or my brothers. These were voices that I only heard a few times before. They were the voices of humans. Those tall creatures who Poppy had taught us to avoid because some of the villagers didn't like cats. All of a sudden, one of the humans, I later discovered that his name was Ralph, picked me up from the marble rock. I was so tiny that my little kitten body could fit entirely in the palm of his hand. I could just tell right away that these humans were friendly and that they would take care of me. Soon we were inside the villa of Ralph and his wife, Hanani. They dried me off, and Hanani started picking all the sticky burrs off my little tired body, while Ralph rushed off to the market to get some baby milk to feed me. There were over 100 tiny burrs stuck to my kitten fur. When Ralph came back with the milk, they warmed it in a small saucer, and soon I was enjoying my first meal in over a day. After I was fed and all cleaned up, I felt so relaxed that I fell sound asleep in Hanani's arms. When I awoke, I still felt weak from my stormy ordeal, but I felt safe with Ralph and Hanani. I could tell that they cared for me and were trying to make me stronger so that I could get back to my mother and my brothers. They took turns holding me and keeping me warm by wrapping me in a dish towel. Later, they took me outside to explore the courtyard and to let me once again feel that wonderful Greek sun on my back. When they noticed that I kept bumping into things, they became concerned, and after looking at my face for a while, They were worried that I could not see. At first, Ralph and Hanani just thought that my baby eyes had not opened yet. But to be sure, they took me to Mr. Christofoli, the town veterinarian, for an examination. He carefully examined me and after a while said in a very sad voice, "Ohi Matya." With these Greek words, the veterinarian told Ralph and Hanani that I was blind. He explained to them that for some reason known only to God, I was born with no eyeballs. Ralph and Hanani took me back to their villa and gave me more food and held me in their arms and worried about me because I was still very weak. Late into the evening, while watching me sleep in a little bed they had made for me out of an old cardboard box, they talked about what they should do next with a 4-week-old, weak, blind kitten. They decided to nurse me back to health with the hope of eventually reuniting me with Poppy and my brothers. In the meantime, they carried me all over Gennady, down to the village square, and even to the beautiful 9-mile-long beach that borders the town. I loved hearing the waves crash on shore, knowing that I was always safe wrapped up in the dish towel, cuddled in Hanani's arms. I also liked to stretch out on the sunbed beside her and bask in the Aegean sunshine. Yes, this is a very, very cute story, and it's a true story. When it was time for lunch, Ralph and Hanani took me with them to their favorite taverna by the sea called Klimley's. All the Klimley's customers thought that it was a little strange to see a tiny kitten wrapped up like a baby lying in Hanani's lap while they ate lunch. I especially liked it when they ordered octopus. Oh, God. Magic has now come back and is playing with my shoes. Liked it when they ordered octopus, Ralph's favorite dish, because they would let me have tiny bites of this special Greek delicacy. I was still very weak and got tired easily. One day I was so weak that I couldn't eat, and Ralph and Hanani decided to take me into the big city of Rhodestown to have me examined by a specialist veterinarian, Dr. Haridopoulos, who they simply called Dr. Harry. He looked me over and took some of my blood for analysis. He confirmed that I was a feral cat, meaning wild, and that indeed I was totally blind. He injected me with medicine and also sent me home with some pills to take twice a day. Dr. Harry told Ralph and Hanani that it was very unusual for people to take feral cats into their homes, especially sick little blind kittens, but he could tell that they really cared a lot for me and wanted to see me get healthy. My new human friends took me everywhere in the village. Soon I was the talk of the town. Many people thought that it was very strange to care so much for a feral cat, especially a blind one. But other villagers thought that Ralph and Hanani were very caring to be so concerned about me. Some of them even said that Ralph and Hanani had not adopted me, but that I adopted them. They all wanted to know what they were going to do with me when it was time for them to return from their vacation in Gennady and go back to the United States of America and their home in Vermont. All I knew was that I was so happy that they had adopted me and that I love them very much. The weeks passed by quickly. I was never out of their sight. They took me to their market for groceries, to the town laundry, to the bakery. Oh, how I loved the smells there. to the tavernas for lunch, and of course, to the beach. One time, Hunani waded into the Aegean Sea with me held tightly in her arms. Of course, I could not see the ocean water all around me, and I tried to jump down. Luckily, Hunani caught me again, just before I dunked in the sea. She came back and told Ralph what had happened, and they agreed that from now on, when I was at Seaside, I should just stay on the sunbed or just explore the beautiful beach. The time was fast approaching when my adopted friends would have to leave Gennady and return to their Vermont home in America. One night when we were all back in the villa having just finished our dinner, I heard Ralph say to Hunani, "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" "Yes," replied Hunani. "I think we should take her home." "Well," Ralph responded, "we better give her a name." I could just tell by the way they were talking that they were talking about me. They decided to call me Tria Maria. Tria because I was the third kitten in Poppy's family, and Maria because that is one of the most popular names for girls in Greece. For the next few days, we were very busy making arrangements for me to travel back on the airplane to America. Most important was to get a pet passport from Dr. Harry. The pet passport had to record all the vaccinations that I was required to have before leaving Greece. And it had to have a statement from Dr. Harry that I had no diseases and that I was ready to travel halfway around the world. The only thing I didn't like was the microchip that had to be injected into my back so that I could be identified by an official. Ouch! I also had to get a special carry case so that I could travel in the cabin of the plane with Ralph and Hunani. And Dr. Harry gave my new owner some prescriptions for medicine and special baby cat food to help me get stronger for the long trip back to their home in Vermont. We spent the whole afternoon in Rhodestown shopping for all of my supplies. Just like that, it was time to leave. Everyone in the village was sad to see our family leaving, but they were so happy that Ralph and Hunani had decided to adopt me and take me with them back to America. At the airport, the customs officials wanted to examine my pet passport and were a little amused that these two Americans had decided to take a little blind Greek kitten back home with them. It was exciting boarding the plane and getting all settled in for the long flight back to my new home. Of course, I couldn't see out of the plane's window, but my new masters looked out of the island of Rhodes and just thought to themselves, people back home are going to be very surprised by the new addition to our family. Look at the little kitty in the window. I wondered what my new life would be like in America, especially in the Vermont home where Ralph and Hunani lived. Somehow I just knew it would be very different from Greece, and that it would only be a few hours until I was there to discover my new life. It says the end, but I think there's some pictures and all that in here. It says, watch for more Tria Maria stories. So Tria Maria in Vermont, Tria Maria goes on holiday, coming soon. Now, I don't. I'll have to look to see if they ever were printed, but I don't remember seeing them because I would have picked those up right away. So that is Tria Maria. I am going to take just a 2-minute break because I got to clean my glasses because I can't see a thing through them. Hi, Magic. Here comes Magic. He's not stopping for my shoes this time. All right, the next one is Crick Ring. All right, and I believe this is about, I don't know if it's a cockroach or an ant. Yes, very cute book. This is Janelle Cannon, who also wrote Stella Luna and Verdi. I don't know, Jeff. How does it keep happening? So we got Crickwing. So, and this is a longer book than the Stella Luna or Verdi books. Far below the great forest canopy lies a shadowy world that many insects call home. Among the damp clutter of fallen leaves and branches, leaf-cutting ants toil all day, while large cockroaches await the evening's search for food. One cockroach had looked like all the others, until a close call with an hungry toad. In his wild escape from the toad's sticky tongue, he had twisted one of his fine long wings. Since then, everyone called him Crickwing. So, Crickwing is a cockroach. Crickwing despised his nickname, and he avoided hearing it by staying far away from the other creatures. He would sneak out to find his food when the night was darkest, knowing that the forest was crawling with predators even worse than those ravenous toads. The forest seemed much less fearsome whenever Crickwing found a nice pile of tasty leaves, roots, and petals. Yes, that's Magic. He took comfort in their bright colors and interesting shapes. He often built sculptures from them before he ate them. When he was busy playing with his food, he could almost forget the pain in his crooked wing. One night, Crickwing created the most wonderful sculpture ever. He was so absorbed in his work that he did not hear the soft footsteps behind him. Pow! Swoosh! A sharp-eyed monkey clobbered Crickwing and swiped his sculpture. Crickwing dived for cover. I only let him get away with that because he's so big, he grumbled, cowering under a rotten log.
Don't go anywhere. I'm not done with you yet. Come back, Percy. Come back.
Crickwing hid until the next night when hunger drove him out to search for a meal. But as soon as he had added the final flower petal to his dinner, an enormous scaly lizard nearly gulped him down. Crickwing dodged, and the lizard took off with his edible artwork. Another masterpiece! Ruined! Crickwing panted. I am starving and my wing aches. I don't know if I can take this much longer. The next night, things got even worse. An ocelot pounced and nearly crushed Crickwing. When he darted away, the ocelot scooped him up in her massive paw and threw him high in the air. "Oh no," Crookwing wailed. "Not again." When he landed, Crookwing scrambled about in a panic and leaped into a crevice under a stone, where he collapsed in angry tears. "I am so tired of having to run from giant predators," he said. "I hate being so small, and I hate never being able to finish a meal. I am a mere exoskeleton." Through the long night, Crookwing's wing throbbed as he waited in his hideout. Many hours later, sunlight streamed into his cave, and the leaf-cutting ants began another busy day. Thousands of the tiny workers carried large slices of leaves back to their colony. Crookwing, groggy and still angry, crept out for a better look. "Ha! These guys are even punier than I am," he muttered. None of the ants seemed to notice him. Crookwing inched closer. "There's something about these antsy critters that just bug me. Why isn't anyone bothering these little twerps?" He placed a spiny leg across the leaf-cutter path. "Well, let's see what happens now," he chortled. "Have a nice trip. See you next fall." Several ants stumbled, but then went back to work as if Crookwing wasn't even dead. "This will get their attention," he growled, picking up a leaf from the path. The ant carrying the leaf hung on tight, which gave Crookwing a dastardly idea. He hugged several ants from a vine, one by one, and watched with glee as their tiny legs flailed. Crookwing laughed so hard that he nearly forgot his aching wing. That night, Crookwing wolfed down a sweet flower bud, not even noticing its dazzling purple color. He had work to do. Right in the middle of the leaf-cutter trail, he dug a deep hole in the ground. Then he crouched behind a rock, waiting to see what the ants would do. In the very early dawn, the ants rose as usual and went to work. When they returned, their cargo clamped in their jaws, they could barely see their way. They plummeted into the trap, piling into the great green heap. "These muddling molecules are easy to fool," snorted Crookwing. But back in the leafcutter colony, the queen of the ants called a meeting. Let me put my leg up here. "This week's production is down," she barked. "What on earth is going on?" "It's a cockroach, Your Highness," stammered Terror. "He's picking on us," said Gravel. "No cockroach meddles with our colony. Seize him," ordered the queen.
Just a minute, okay? I forgot. I'll get you.
soon. Off with her head. Huh. The next morning, the ants found Crookwing fussing with his latest ant trap. He had no chance to escape as thousands of leafcutters swarmed over him, dragged him back to the anthill, and marched him down its dark, winding corridors. When the tunnels narrowed, the ants crammed Crookwing through one final tight spot. Pop! His wing snapped back into place, and he realized that the throbbing ache was gone. Before he could give it another thought, the ants pulled their prisoner into a chamber and buried him up to his neck. For hours, the whole colony filed by, whispering to one another, "How do you think he became so awful?" And, "His mother must be heartbroken." That big oaf, showed up just in time for the annual peace offering to the army ants, crowed the queen. "There's no way they'll attack us if we hand this hefty no-gooder over to them. Truss him up like the fat turkey he is and ship him out." The leafcutters found Crookwing, hauled him back through the dim tunnels, and carried him into the forest. The ants hiked in silence for a long time. "I can't do this," Eartha blurted at last. "Neither can I," Terra shuddered. "Remember that giant beetle we brought to the army ants last year?" "Yeah, they took him apart before we could even turn around and leave," quavered Gravel. Crookwing gulped. "Nobody deserves that, not even this big bully," said Eartha. "I say let him go. He never really hurt any of us." "What will we tell the queen?" Terra gasped. "And what about the army ants?" Gravel howled. "They'll level our colony." "I can't just watch them shred this guy," insisted Eartha. "We'll figure something out on the way back. Let's go!" The ants released Crookwing and fled. Crookwing was stunned. "The queen is going to have their heads, and the whole leafcutter colony is now in serious danger, all because of me." Now that his wing no longer hurt, he could think clearly. "I have to do something. But what?" And then Crookwing had a brilliant idea. "Wait, wait, wait!" he yelled, racing after the leafcutters. "I can help! Wait!" He described his plan, and the ants listened carefully. "We'll have to move quickly, but if every ant pitches in, I think it'll work," Crookwing said. "Can we trust this yahoo?" yelped Gravel. "Do we have much choice?" snapped at Terra. "The plan is worth a try, and we'll do our best to win the patience of the queen," Eartha promised. "But we don't have much time." "Jump on my back, all of you," said Crookwing. "I am one fast runner." In a far corner of the forest, in the army ant camp, the lieutenant paced angrily. "Those leaf-eating fools are late," she snarled. "If we don't have our peace offering by tomorrow at dawn, we march in and take what's rightfully ours." As the hours passed, the army ants grew more agitated. Now that's a tough army ant. At first light, the army swarmed from its nest, ready for conquest. "No one," shouted the lieutenant, "absolutely no one keeps the army ants waiting." They poured like an angry river down the trail to the leafcutter anthill. As the ferocious ants turned the final bend, they stopped dead in their tracks. Look at those tough army ants. For a long, silent moment, they stared at the hugest, strangest, greenest anteater they had ever seen. It loomed high over them, its terrible tongue dangling from its mouth. The lieutenant's squeaky voice broke the quiet. "Halt! About face! Run away! Run away!" The army ants tripped over one another as they scrambled back towards their camp, none of them daring to look back. Crickwing and the leaf-cutting ants peered from atop the leafy anteater's head, watching the warriors fade into the forest. They all held their breath until the entire terrified horde had vanished. Then the queen approached. "I don't think we're ever going to be seeing them ever again, thanks to you and your enormous sculpture, Crickwing," she said. "Or shall we call you Straightwing now? We need someone to help us keep the anteater in order, so I hope you will decide to join our colony. And I hear that you're an incredible chef." I just like to play with my food," Crickwing replied. "And please, call me Crickwing, Your Highness. I would very much like to stay. The first thing I want to do is prepare a great celebration feast for everybody." "Three cheers for Crickwing!" shouted Eartha. All of the ants joined the cheer, then rushed into the forest. They gathered the brightest flower petals they could find and cut them into sparkling bits. All night at the banquet, everyone threw flower confetti, danced the six-step, and sang until sunlight came creeping through the trees. As the queen peeked at the dawn and blinked drowsily, "I declare today a holiday," she yawned. "Here, here," said Crickwing. And for the first time in colony history, the leafcutters took a day off. Hey, hello, Craig. How are you? So, we have cockroach notes in here. The world holds nearly 4,000 species of cockroaches, and new ones are continually being discovered. The differences between them are amazing. The variety in size alone ranges from a 4-inch long giant to a 1/8 inch long cockroach that hitchhikes on the backs of leaf-cutting ants. Some roaches are bright green, and some look like ladybugs. Some have beautiful stripes, others have bright orange rumps. Good night. One extraordinary cockroach is amphibious, which means that it spends much of its life diving in ponds and rivers, eating decayed leaves, dead fish, and algae. Yeah, this is a little weird, the cockroach facts, huh? Although cockroaches seem outrageously abundant, the tuna cave cockroach in Puerto Rico is in decline, and may soon be added to the endangered species list. Most cockroaches live in the moist, warm regions near the equator. Rainforests shelter thousands of species which live everywhere from the floor of the forest to the canopy. Some cockroaches endure the extreme heat of parched deserts, while others manage to exist in frigid climates. Although a few species are native to colder regions, humans have unwittingly expanded the insect's habitat into those areas by building places full of warmth and food that help cockroaches thrive. The common cockroaches that many people have grown to fear and hate represent just 5 species: German, Oriental, American, brown-banded, and smoky brown. Globally, about 50 additional species are considered pests, less than 1% of the total roach family. The remaining thousands of species are content to live far from people, as they have for millions of years. Some eat fallen leaves and fruit, and their droppings help nourish the soil. Some pollinate flowers. Many jungle-dwelling animals consider the cockroach a delicious high-protein snack. Mmm, yum yum. Considering how long these well-designed bugs have survived on Earth, it is easy to see why that we humans invaded the cockroach's pantry long before cockroaches ever entered ours. There's also ant notes. There are about 8,800 and counting species of ants in the world. Native species live nearly everywhere on the planet, except Antarctica, Iceland, Greenland, a Polynesian island, and other small islands in the Atlantic and Indian Oceans. And non-native ants have migrated even to those regions. Ants are among the planet's best earth movers. Their tunnel building activity loosens the soil, making it easier for plants to grow. Many ant species help the spread of vegetation by dispersing seeds. Their underground food storage nourishes the soil. A colony of leaf-cutting ants can displace about 80,000 pounds of soil when building its massive nests. The nest tunnels and chambers as deep as 18 feet underground can shelter millions of ants. That's what I thought, Craig. I thought they came together, Cosarelli and Solly. Yeah, yeah, because I seem to remember that, because I don't remember Cosarelli coming from New York. So, yeah.
So who was it?
Craig said that Cosarelli and Solly came together from a rescue in Columbus.
So who else was married?
Yeah.
Oh.
We're going to have to, go back in the Wayback Machine. That's what I remember, Craig. Yeah, I remember Cosarelli and Solly came together, and I remember Solly came in as Solitude, which, which I know Jackie did not like that name and just shortened it to Solly.
That's gonna be like 2014 that all happened.
Yes. Yep. I'm gonna have to look on Chatters, because I actually was searching Chatters for a cat that I named a few years ago, because I was looking for it, because I was trying to kind of put some names out so that I could kind of mention it to other areas. So.
Bye.
Hello, MP. Hey, where was I? One might assume that leaf cutters gather foliage simply because they like to eat salad. Not so. Leaf-cutting ants eat fungus, not leaves. In fact, they are very sophisticated farmers. The largest ants go out into the forest where they use their sharp, powerful mandibles to slice off dime-sized pieces of leaves. They return to the colony where smaller ants take over and cut the leaves into even smaller pieces. It's in Jackie's blog in February of 2013. That's very interesting because that is before
2013?
Yes.
So it must have been in December 2013 when I was here.
No.
And we took that trip.
Okay, yeah. We'll have to, you know, because I never visited FFRC until June of 2013, which means that that big orange head was here when Casarelli and Solly came.
And Alma came in February 2014.
Okay. Did Alma come by herself?
There's no notes about that.
Okay. But she is, Alma's a Philly girl. She came from Philly. Just like me. I should have taken Alma to the Phillies Cubs games. What do you think, Alma? No? She's not a big fan. Alright. The tiniest ants then cut the pieces further and use them to feed a fungus that grows nowhere else except in the leafcutter's underground caverns. The smallest ants perform complex weeding tasks and carry antibacterial agents to keep their crops productive and free of disease. The entire colony feeds on the nutritious fungus. Among us. Army ants live in forests from southern Mexico to Brazil and Peru. These migratory warrior-like insects are known for their spectacular hunting techniques. During a hunting march, hundreds of thousands of army ants swarm across the jungle floor, consuming every creature that they capture. The huge band of ants stirs up everything in its path, including many varieties of insects. Ant birds follow the army ants and gobble up the fleeing bugs. A certain butterfly follows the ant birds, feeding on the birds' droppings. Many flies hover nearby, picking off any unclaimed prey. As with many species of ants, army ants vary in size and color depending upon their role in the colony and their stage of development. Most are hunters. The majors, large soldier ants that sport huge sword-like mandibles, march on the sidelines to protect the hunters as they search for their quarry. Other workers help feed the majors because their great jaws are adapted for fighting, not eating. Unlike most ants, army ants do not build nests. When night falls, it's time to rest. The entire colony of ants gathers into one big clump called a bivouac, B-I-V-O-U-A-C, usually protected by a tree. It takes a lot of food to feed a large army ant group, so they hunt daily. When it's time to raise their offspring, the ants camp for a while, using their bodies to shelter the queen and the young. When the new workers are ready, the army ants go marching on. Hurrah, hurrah. So that is the book about Crickwing, a cockroach that had a broken wing. So, I think we only got about 5 minutes, so I'm going to read you a couple more poems from this book I've been reading, Something Big Has Been Here. This Schaefer Publishing. Okay. What is this? Oh, it's from the Wolf Sanctuary in Lidditz. Okay. All right, so the next is called I Wish My Father Wouldn't Try to Fix Things Anymore. My father's listed everything he's planning to repair. I hope he won't attempt it, but for the talent isn't there. He tinkered with the toaster when the toaster wouldn't pop. Now we keep it disconnected, but we cannot make it stop. He fiddled with the blender. He took the clock apart. The clock is running backwards, and the blender will not start. Every window pane he's puttied now admits the slightest breeze. He's half destroyed the furniture. If we're lucky, we won't freeze. Oh, thank you, Mary. The TV set was working, yet he thought he'd poke around. Now the picture's out of focus, and there isn't any sound. There's a faucet in the basement, but he dripped one drop all year. Since he fixed it, we can't find it without wearing scuba gear. I wish my father wouldn't try to fix things anymore, for everything he's mended is more broken than before. If my father finally fixes every item on his list, we'll be living in the garden, for our house will not exist. All right, we got a couple more here. One is called Benita Bean. Benita Bean, the trumpet queen, makes audiences cheer. She does not play the normal way. She only plays by ear. There's the magic boy. Next one is called the Fuddies. The Fuddies fly above the dale as they bumble by. They leave a long and muddy trail of footprints in the sky. Well, that was a quick one. Next one is a nice little long. It's called There's a Worm in My Apple. There's a worm in my apple, a bug in my pear. A beetle has managed to get in my hair. I swatted the gnat that was nipping in my ear, and a hornet is buzzing uncomfortably near. The ants in the kitchen are stealing the bread, while a mouse sets up housekeeping under my bed. Wherever I look, I encounter a moth, and a fly I just decided to dive into the broth. There's a spider outside that would like to move in. A pair of mosquitoes are riddling my chin. The rat in the attic's determined to stay. I'm facing a fairly pestiferous day. I never heard of pestiferous.
Say that 5 times.
I know. Next one is called Try Never to Tickle the Twickles. Oh, this is going to be a good one. Try never to tickle the Twickles. The Twickles, when twickled, they may smile. We do not like smiling, they snivel. It's vulgar, it's vapid, it's vile. If you ever tickle the Twickles are likely to grin. Unthinkable, whimper the Twickles. It ruins the shape of the chin. I repeat, never tickle the Twickles. The Twickles may laugh if you do. It goes against nature, they grumble. It's clearly considered taboo. Still worse, if you tickle the Twickles are apt to guffaw. Guffawing's disgraceful, they clamor. We recently made it a law. The Twickles you tickle will chuckle. The tickles you tickle will roar. Deplorable, blubber the Twickles. It's not what we Twickles are for. Untickled, we Twickles are grateful. We Twickles, untickled, are glad. Ignore our morose dispositions. We're happiest when we are sad. All right, I'm going to read 2 more, and then we're going to call it a night. Whoa, Emma, you going to bed? All right, next one is called Wartina Weir Just Bit My Ear. Wartina Weir just bit my ear. She mopped my face with dirt. She popped a glop of bubble gum and dropped it down my shirt. She plopped her ice cream in my hair. She bopped me with her shoe. I think Wartina likes me. I think I like her too. I know, these are real tongue twisters. And the very last one for the day is called Fuzzy, You Are Underfoot. Fuzzy, you are underfoot. You are never still. You won't stay put. You twirl and try to catch your tail and never notice that you fail. You clamber up and down the stairs, depositing unsightly hairs. When it's time to go outside, you scamper off and try to hide. When it's time to go outside, you scamper off and try to hide. So this is about a cat. Fuzzy though you understand, you never follow my command. I tell you sit, I tell you stay, you lick my face and run away. I buy your bones and yet you choose to gnaw the chair to chew my shoes. I would not mind a dog like that, but you're peculiar for a cat. Alright, I'm going to read one more. Just one more. Right, and then that'll be it. This is a longer one, and I don't think it's a tongue twister. My mouth is tired. It's called I Am Sitting Here and Fishing. I am sitting here and fishing with my trusty rod and reel. I thought I'd like to catch a snapper. I would not refuse an eel. And a pike would be delightful, and a cod would be okay, and a bass would be fantastic, and a dace would make my day. I am hoping for a haddock. I am eager for a bream, and a perch would be perfection, and a pompano supreme. I am grateful for a grunion. I would find a flounder fly. I would find a flounder fine. I'd be tickled with a pickerel or a mackerel on my line. But I've yet to get a nibble at this little fishing hole. I've not seen a single salmon or a solitary sole. Not a miniature minnow nor the sorriest sardine. When you're fishing in the desert, fish are few and far between. Do you see how there's always a little twist at the end of these? It's kind of a cute little book. I'm glad, and I told you that this was my wife's book, and she must have had it a long time because that's her maiden name. So, all right, I am going to go for the day. I will be back next week. But I wanted to also let you know that the last week of July I will not be here. I will actually be in Dayton for that week. Thank you, Packer. Thank you, Craig. So I hope everybody's got a good night. Thank you, Cat B. Thank you, Kit Kat. So have a great night, everybody. And just in case, I'm going to turn it over to.
Hang on.
What's that?
Hang on. No, they're not listening. I got the picture of us taking off on the airplane.
Huh?
But they're not listing the kitties.
No. Well, I'm going to look.
There's something Diana Ramos